Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily with Ray Flowers, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to use the promo code FSD20 for a 20% discount on the products over at fantasyguru.com. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers, fantasyguru.com. Welcome to the show today. Appreciate you being here Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we made a change to the time. I'll let you know as we get closer. But for now, let's just say for the rest of this month, we're at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're thinking 12 o'clock Eastern, right in the middle of the day. So that's probably where we're going to go to in a couple of weeks. But right now, for the rest of June, we're going 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, right here for fantasyguru.com. And there's a lot of ways to watch a show. I'll go through them quickly. You're probably tired of me hearing it, but you never know. We're getting new people here. We appreciate all of you that have been with us since the start. Those of you that have joined halfway down the stream here. You can always watch a show at youtube.com/@elite+network. Watch it live. Ask questions there. We get to your questions at the end of the show, so we can happily do that, and we'll continue to do that. We've also got the ability for you to ask questions and watch along live on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyguru HQ. So let me say that again, facebook.com/fantasyguru HQ. And then obviously when it's all said and done, about 15 to 30 minutes after the show is completed, you can find it over at fantasyguru.com in the Elite Plus section. Click the tab at the top. You can also find it on your social media services where you find your podcast, and just type in Fantasy Sports Daily, and we should be good to go there. What are we doing here on Monday? Well, let's pull it up. Glad you asked that, listener and viewer. What are we doing today? We're talking about some call-ups. Adel Amador is up. Drew Thorpe is coming up. I had a question about David Hamilton. Interesting. I was looking at him over the weekend and thought I hadn't talked about him in a while. I think I mentioned him at some point, but it was a real quick. So we'll hit on him in a little bit more depth here. What's going on with Jurickson Profar? Luis Rengifo, Jazz Chisholm, Randy Arozarena. On the other side of things, Ryan McMahon starting to slow down. What's that all about? Keibert Ruiz, is he a solid catching option or not? Wyatt Langford's come back. Let's review how he's done since he's returned from the injured list. Justin Verlander and Bailey Ober on the hill. A couple of pitchers injured that we need to discuss, or in the injury news, I guess you'd say. They're not, well, they're injured, but they're re-injured. Gerritt Cole and Max Scherzer, we'll talk about them. In the case of Juan Soto, kind of where are we at with Juan Soto right now? I have Juan Soto in one league, and I don't think I'm starting him this week. So we'll talk about him as we're coming up. You'll see there on the screen as well, the LABR tout. Oh, I put tour. That's supposed to be tout. See, that's what happens when you type at 7:15 in the morning on a Monday. LABR, tout, and FSGA, of course. We'll go through the FAAB reviews. I had some additions myself this week in some of the leagues. We'll talk about those here. And as you can see there, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, which I don't think exists anymore. I should probably remove that. Pandora, Spotify. There's the link to Facebook at the bottom of the screen there. And as you can see there as well, the draft guide is available over at fantasyguru.com. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that here. So let's go to that. The fantasy draft guide is available. It's all season long. It's not just a preseason product. So you've got it all season long over at fantasyguru.com. You've got all the rankings you need. PPR, half PPR, non-PPR. We have dynasty rankings. We have rookie rankings. We've got IDP rankings. As you can see there, we've also got custom league scoring cheat sheets, a mock draft simulator. We've got the rookie player profile, so you know all about who these players are. The coaching and system breakdowns piece, which is it's kind of the lifeblood of what we do at fantasyguru.com. And no one was doing this 10 years ago when Jeff Manns was doing it. Some people do it now, but I think you're, again, missing out if you don't understand the importance of that. And it's something that is really at the centerpiece of a lot of what we do. And it's vitally important. I give the stupid comment all the time. If you're good at running right and your coach says we're running all the plays to the left, you ain't going to be any good, right? Now, on the other side of things, if you're really good running left and maybe you can't run right, if the coach calls all the plays left and you're running left, you're golden. So really stupid but simple example. Guys got to fit in systems, and it's why you see sometimes players kind of go with coaches at times because they fit what the coach is trying to do. So the importance of that is kind of at the forefront. And it's unique. So if you haven't been with us at fantasyguru.com for the football product yet, I really would suggest that you sign up, not just because it helps pay my bills, but because I honestly think it does help give you an edge on the competition. 100% honest. I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here trying to sell a product. I 100% believe that. So check that out, fantasyguru.com/product/NFL-memberships. You can also just go to the website. I'll do it with you right now. You go to the top right, click on the subscribe tab. And as you notice, if you've been around fantasyguru.com for a while, things are different. You go to the fantasyguru.com page and you see everything's just sitting there, right? takes you to it. It's clean now. It's got the football column, the baseball column, the other sports column. You can just click on it and have at it. You can get the all-in package, which gives you everything we do. You can get the basic seasonal package, which is already on a discount right now. You don't even need a promo code. The elite seasonal package, which includes everything from the basic as well as the data package, franchise mode. You get CFL and USFL or UFL, coverage there. We'll also toss in the MLB seasonal content. So for those of you watching this that like it, weren't sure how to get involved more directly with the baseball content. If you buy the elite seasonal package right now for football, we'll toss in the baseball stuff for free. So that gives you access to Discord, asking questions of myself and the staff. That gives you access to the rankings because we update those the first of every month. Where are we at? They'll be July 1st, August 1st, September 1st, the rest of the way. It gives you the opportunity to see the articles and the breakdowns and all that. So that's all included for free. So head over to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab on the top right side of the page, and you can be rocking and rolling. So let's give it a go. All right. Let's talk about what we're talking about today. And there it is on the screen. Let's talk about some performances. And one of you noticed in Discord, hey, Ray, I saw you picked up Adel Amador in Tout Wars. And I did. And he was on the list to talk about anyway because he was being called up. So let's do that. We'll get more into what were the expenditures and costs and how do those leagues handle waivers right now. But let's talk about Adel Amador straight up. Brandon Rogers is injured yet again. He's on the injured list. It doesn't sound like he's going to miss a ton of time. So Amador is going to have to come up and hit. Now, the thing with the Rockies, and we keep talking about this, they called up all these guys. And at times they've had moments, but really guys like Goodman, guys like Beck, these guys keep getting called up and they're not doing anything. Toglia. If Amador hits, they will find a way to get him in the lineup. I mean, I truly believe that, right? Now, it does get tight if they've got Rogers and Tovar and McMahon healthy, but they got a DH spot. I don't know if they want to do that. We'll see. It's a youngster with Amador. So Amador replaces Rogers on the roster right now. Who is Amador? He is arguably their number one prospect. He is 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. He's a borderline elite talent. You know, like on a 20-80 scale, he's a 60 kind of guy. Like he's an all-star. Everyone thinks that Amador will be an all-star. He's got elite bat to ball skills. He works the count very well for a player his age. He's only 21 years old, barely 21 years old, so he's extremely young. He only has 250 at-bats above single A ball. 10 years ago, we wouldn't see this guy in the big leagues. Now teams say, look, we're going to put you up. We're going to give you an opportunity because you're talented. And even if there are some things you need to work on, we're going to help you work on it here. So that's what they're doing with Amador. So they're giving him this opportunity despite his young age on the birth certificate and young age in terms of professional baseball experience. But again, controls the strike zone, elite bat to ball skills. He's a 25 home run guy, something like that. That's probably where he'll settle in. He right now controls the strike zone, as I mentioned, very well. Almost a 1-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which is fantastic for a young player. Now, he hasn't driven the ball for the majority of the season. His OPS is in the 600s, which is obviously terrible. He does, and he's getting this call up right at the right time. He does have 3 home runs in 5 games and 6 home runs his last 11 games. So all of a sudden, he's found the power stroke that, again, is there, right? So this is kind of, I think, a perfect storm of a talented guy who's going to be a face of this franchise for a long time, who's in a nice groove at the plate, who's getting an opportunity. My hope is that he doesn't go the route of Beck and Goodman and Toglia, that he gets this opportunity and then struggles. My hope is that he gets the opportunity and succeeds. I think that, again, it's very risky to count on any 21-year-old with 250 at-bats or plate appearances above A ball. You're in a tough spot. So should anyone go out and do something crazy to add Amador to the team? No. But as you'll see with me as well, should you go out and make a move? Yeah. Okay. Make a move, right? And we'll talk more about him when we get to the bidding section. But I'm a fan of the skills. The playing time is the piece. Because, again, you've got Tovar at short. Rogers, if he's healthy, he's going to play. You've got McMahon at third. What do they do with Amador? Do they try him in the outfield? He's athletic. We'll see. But I do like the skill set. Speaking of another youngster that's getting promoted, his name's kind of blocked a little bit there by I should have corrected this a little bit. Fantasy Sports Daily logo is blocking his face. And I'm not going to take that down because that's a really cool logo. The next guy is Drew Thorpe. And Drew Thorpe was added in some of my leagues. So again, we'll talk about him when we get to that FAAB section. It seems it's not, I don't think it's definitive, like it's officially been announced by the team, but everyone expects Drew Thorpe to be called up to start on Tuesday against Seattle. It's not a bad matchup at all facing Seattle. Drew Thorpe is one of the top pitching prospects in the Chicago system. He came over from the Padres in that deal for Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cease, excuse me. Dylan Cruz, wrong Dylan. Dylan Cease. Thorpe has been really good. He's made 11 starts in the minors this year. He's got a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which we talk about all the time, is terrific. His ERA is under 1.5, so he's been great at the run prevention. He's got one of the best changeups in baseball, not just in the minors. In baseball, that's his money pitch. That you'll see a grade of 70 on the 20/80 scale. That's elite. It's an elite pitch. I'm not comparing him to Gavin Stone, but kind of similar in the idea that these guys, their best pitch is their changeup. Now, Drew Thorpe attacks batters with an over-the-top delivery, which you don't see a lot of anymore. You see more of the 3/4 or low 3/4, right? Guys trying to get the movement there. So he has a little bit of a different pitch shape because of the over-the-top nature of his game. The problem that Thorpe has is that his fastball doesn't really play up. And we talk about this a lot. You don't have to have your fastball be the pitch you throw 70% of the time. You don't have to throw 98 miles an hour. And a lot of teams are actually getting away from the fastball, right? They're reducing the amount of pitches that their guys throw that are fastball. But you have to be able to establish your fastball. I still think that's a key to pitching as a starting pitcher. And there are questions about that. It's a 35-40 pitch on the 20/80 scale, which is, again, one of the big problems is that the pitch shape isn't ideal. So the batter gets a good look at it. And when the batter gets a good look at it and it's not overpowering and it's not got a lot of darting movement. So, he's only made 16 starts above single A. And while you can be Paul Skeens and do that, it's, I don't think Drew Thorpe is in that same zone, right, in terms of overall talent. At this point, he's more of a pitcher than a thrower, which is, again, good, but you get my drift. So I think Thorpe, we'll see. There's a need there with the White Sox. I mean, if he pitches well, they got a chance to let him run, right? And he does have strong control, which is a big bonus on his side of things. Like, you hope that he doesn't come up and nibble and he just hits the blacks, right? Which it looks like he's been able to do for the majority of this season. And again, change up and control, that's a great combination if you don't have the stuff in terms of elite fastball. So I think he's prepared for success. I think there's an opportunity for success, as we say all the time with these guys. Like, it's hard to look at the White Sox and think this guy's going to get run support. The White Sox are continuing to, they're talking about trading Crochet. They're talking about trading Robert. It could get really ugly. If it's not already, it's already ugly. It can get even worse. So caution with Thorpe. As we know at this point in time, finding pitchers is extremely difficult. It's just, that's the nature of where we're at right now. So a healthy youngster with good stuff, if you want to throw a couple of dollars, if you want to have him off the waiver wire in a head-to-head league, okay. But again, understand that the risk factor is extremely high. And I think it's especially so in this case. All right, let's talk about some hitters. David Hamilton homered on Sunday. He also had a double. He stole third. He scored on a sacrifice fly, did all these kind of things. So Hamilton is playing right now because the Red Sox can't keep their infielders healthy. Obviously, Story's down. Grissom's hurt yet again. And so here we have with, David Hamilton just playing every day. And when you have a big weekend, when you have a big, game or two on the weekend, when people are paying attention versus a Tuesday, people start to get excited. And you look at his last month, and let's give him mad credit. He's hitting 320 with an 869 OPS. Now, I don't think either part of that is who he is. I don't think the stolen base piece is fully who he is, but he's got 10 steals in 25 games. He's got 6 the last 13 games. He's got 4 the last 6. He can run. And when he was called up or given an opportunity to play this year, my thought, and I think a lot of people's thought, was he will steal some bases. He will be kind of a super sub, and he won't hit much. Well, again, there's an opportunity here. We talk about this all the time. There's an opportunity. Amador is trying to create that opportunity for himself with the injury to Rogers. In the Red Sox case, Hamilton has created the opportunity for himself with the injuries to Grissom and Trevor Story. So you're looking at him now, and it's like, it's hard to see him coming out of this lineup. Now, there's platoon stuff here. He only has 3 home runs thus far. He's not going to drive the baseball. He's only driven 8 runs in 130 plate appearances. He's not that guy. He's a table setter. But, we know that if he runs, which he should run, and is a 270 kind of hitter, there's value. So I think Hamilton is absolutely worth it picking up. I think that, again, it depends your league type and all that. If you're rolling through a head-to-head and you want to just get a guy, okay, he might qualify at second and short, depending on your setup too, which would be nice. He should be expected to, let's say, hit 270 with 8 to 10 home run power, stealing 25, 30 bases. Like, that's kind of who you should be expecting. I know the numbers say differently last month, but let's set those expectations at a reasonable level. It would not be the craziest thing in the world to see him steal 35 bases because he's going to play every day. But I do question even the 270. To be honest, I'd say 250 if I'm being really honest. But, he's not a bad hitter, and he can run. And we all know how it's difficult to find elite level guys that run, even if we can find guys that run, if that makes sense. 25% strikeout rate too, which is a little high for this skill set. So again, let's call him a 250, 60 hitter. I should back off the 270. Let's say 250, 260. But there's value here, especially if he's got multi-position eligibility in your setup. Let's go to Jurickson Profar, who, I was wrong about. Now, to be fair, everyone was wrong about it. Okay, so I'm not saying I wasn't, because I was, but everyone was wrong. We're 69 games into this, and he's hitting 325 with a 924 OPS. And it is a great story because, as I've noted previously here on the show, Profar was the number one prospect in all of baseball, the whole sport, back in the day. And he got promoted to the big leagues, and he's had a job, and he's been around for a decade, and he's had good moments and a couple of decent seasons. Just never found that level of success. Well, here we are. He's in his 30s now, and we're a decade into his career, and this doesn't happen. Okay, it just doesn't. So it's I feel great for him, to be honest, because it's super cool. Now, the real question is, and again, the last week, he's still hitting 320. His OPS over 1,000 last week. So, okay, let's look a little bit at him in depth here. Let me pull it up. If I can figure out how to use Fangraphs, just updated their site, and it's a little wonky to me. I don't know. I guess it'll be better, but to me, it looks a little. Anyway, his walk rate has never been higher. 13% walk rate, which says you're seeing the ball well, especially when you consider his strikeout rate right now is basically a career average level. So the strikeout rate hasn't changed at all, but the walk rate has gone up. So he's handling the strike zone better, which, as you know, is something we look for. We target that, right? His isolated power mark would be his best mark in 5 years. Now, was 179 a great mark? No, league average is 155, 160, So it's better than league average. And it's for a guy that's been, at 125 the last 3 years, it's significantly improved. Has he dramatically changed anything beyond that? Let's look at some batted ball data with him. His launch angle right now would be a 4-year low. Now, it's almost 12%, so it's not a bad mark at all, but it would be a 4-year low. His barrel rate would be a career best. It's only 7%, so it's very league average. His hard hit rate would be a career best. It's 39.5%, very league average. His exit velocity is up 3 miles per hour, which is significant. 90.2 miles an hour is a solid mark. So in the end, what do we have here? We have a player who, has, if you look at the expected numbers, he's hitting about 300, not 325, but about 300. We have a player who's 500 slugging percentage, should be about 450, which makes a lot of sense when you look at the totality of the data, when you look at who he has been, who he is, I think. But still, we have a guy that I think you can safely say is operating at career best levels. Is it wise, or is it likely that he will continue along this pace the rest of the season? I think we obviously all know the answer is no. We can talk about the improvement in his batted ball data, which again is better. Still a lot of signs of, his batting average of balls in play has never been 300. And players do, as we talk about a lot, tend to establish that number themselves. You look at kind of a 3-year average as kind of like a baseline of what to expect in the following season. He's at 273. His career mark is 272. This year it's 359. So that's really, even if he maintains the extra batted ball oomph, and that batted ball rate comes down as it's going to, and it's still a career best at 320, right? He's hitting 270 the rest of the way. And if he's not, his 12% launch angle, he's hitting 270 with 10 home runs the rest of the way. That's fine. I just can't see another 70 games like this, but I couldn't see these 70 games either. So maybe I'm just missing it with Jurickson Profar. Maybe he's having one of those years that defies logic. It happens at times, but there's also been a lot of guys. Go back and look at stats at midseason. There's been a lot of guys that have had first halves like this, and then the second half has been rough. So be cautious with Jurickson Profar. But again, fantastic start. Luis Rengifo. Yes, Luis Rengifo. I don't know what we talked about him. I wrote about him, that player profile in the preseason, said everyone needs to get this guy. We talked about his 4-position eligibility, the fact he should play every day. Season starts, he's a little unhealthy. He's hitting ninth, he's hitting first, he's hitting second, he's hitting eighth, he's hitting seventh. We're on Washington. I don't know what was going on. And again, he dealt with some health issues, some illnesses, some physical stuff. Okay. Here we are. And we're 49 games into his season. So he's a third of the way through his season. And he's on pace for 12 home runs, which is a little light, about 15 to 20. Okay. But 12 home runs is what he's on pace for. He's on pace for 75 runs scored. That's basically what we were targeting in the preseason. He's on pace for about 60 RBIs. We were hoping for more. That's a little low. Okay. But here's the obviously exciting part. He's hitting 316, which no one was expecting. But even more so, he's stolen 17 bases. I was hoping that he'd go 15-15 this year. I was not hoping or thinking he was going to go 10-40, which, again, based upon how this is going, it's in the realm of possibility now. And you look at him, his bat is starting to slow. The last month, his OPS was 790. The last 2 weeks, it's 640. The last week, it's 630. He's starting to slow down. And again, I think that's reasonable. I don't think he's a 316 hitter. I don't think he's an 830 OPS guy. But the last month, 8 steals. The last 2 weeks, 5 steals. The last week, actually, 5 steals. He's still running. Stole a couple of bases the other day. And it's, he qualifies at 4 positions. So let's say the rest of the way he hits 260. Let's say the rest of the way his OPS is 725. He still qualifies at 4 positions. He's still running. He's finally playing every day. It's going to end up being, if he keeps going, right? And again, injuries and okay. But if he keeps going, he's absolutely going to create the value that we anticipated in the preseason a little bit differently, but he'll get there. The running has been the biggest thing. If the rest of his game was there, we'd all be saying, yeah, okay. But with his bat being the way it's been and the running, he's had a remarkable season. I just want to tip the cap to him, especially for a guy who dealt with some uncertainty early in the year. It was kind of rough. All right. Let's talk a little bit about our next guy on the list. This is Jazz Chisholm. I've gotten multiple people talking to me about Jazz Chisholm of late, and I don't know. He's on a team, the Marlins, that aren't very good, and the numbers aren't sexy with him, and he's hitting 249. Okay, I get it. And I also said this the other day. I was talking to someone. I said, look, he's not doing great things, okay? But he's on pace to go 2025 with 75 RBIs and 75 runs scored. It's like, that's pretty good. And in the grand scheme, if you look at a player rater, which I pulled up to verify this, right now, Jazz Chisholm was a top 20 outfielder in a 5x5 setup if you look at a player rater. Yeah, does anyone want a 250 guy? It's 250, 22 home runs, 71 RBIs, 80 runs scored. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, yeah, 29 steals. Okay. Yeah, I get it. But again, the overall game, he's an outfielder too. So, his game is not really evolved, if we're being honest about that. It hasn't. It's kind of the same thing. And you look at his last couple of weeks, and he's got a couple of home runs and three steals, which again, even though he's not doing anything, he's got 2 home runs and 3 steals. He's batting 200 with a 634 OPS. He and Randy Arozarena are battling and he's, by the way, winning, Jazz Chisholm, battling for but we're still producing fantasy value. I'll talk about Arozarena in a second here. So I just wanted to, Chisholm to me, just tell everyone that, this is the Jazz Chisholm experience. He's going to hit 250. He's going to hit 25 home runs. He's going to steal 25 bases if he stays healthy. The question's always been with him staying on the field. If he stays on the field, I'm telling you, it's going to be there. The last 2 years, he would have been 30-30 if he'd stayed healthy. He's going to do it. Is it boring? Sometimes. Are there strikeouts? Sometimes. Are there weeks or two where he doesn't hit? Like right now? Yes. Yeah. This is all been there. We've all seen it. But he's also a talented outfielder that does have that power, that speed, and he's going to play every day as long as he's healthy. So keep the faith with Jazz Chisholm. I know, I get it, but what are you going to do? If you go to trade him, someone that's astute is going to say, yeah, here you go. And if they're not astute, they're not going to probably want him because they're not really getting it. But his overall production will be there in the end. Now, Randy Arozarena is now sliding behind the 2020 pace because he had 8 home runs and 7 steals for a week or 2 weeks. I'm looking at the numbers now. He hasn't hit a home run or stolen a base in 2 weeks. So now he's on pace to go 18-18, and he's hitting 180. And it's like, shit. I don't swear, but shit. Now, the last week, and it's 14 at-bats. 6 for 14. the last 2 weeks, and it's 11 games. 312 with an 871 OPS. And it's one of those things that, I fully, and I've said this all along, and I maintain this the whole entire time. I fully maintain that this season of his is going to improve and significantly. Now let's look at the data here. Let's pull it up. Let's look at, and this is not right to do because we're looking at a series of games that really is not enough to judge. We're going back to May 15th. I just randomly picked May 15th if we're talking here. Yeah, I don't like this new dashboard. I guess I'll get used to it here. Okay. His batted ball data in 52 batted ball events, which is a fair amount of sample size. 91 mile an hour exit velocity, 44% hard hit rate. These are solid numbers. The 4% barrel rate is more of a continuation of what we've seen from him this year. It just hasn't, he just hasn't hit the ball on the screws enough. But there's still the guy underneath all of that has the ability to transition his skill sets into performance. I think that now is the time to get in, because while the data does not say, oh my God, he's hitting the ball 94 miles an hour, and oh my God, he's driving the ball to right center field, 390 feet on the line. The results are there, and you can't look at this guy and think he's gonna hit 180. You can't look at him and think he's gonna have a 218 batting average of balls in play. You just can't. He just doesn't know. Get in now. It's nothing. The cost is nothing. People have asked me multiple times, do they even hold on to Arozarena? I'm holding on to him. I have him in multiple leagues. I know a lot of you do because of my advice at the start of the season. I'm not saying he's going 25-25 this year. We've talked about this, but I think from here forward, I think we've got to feel comfortable with what we're starting to see, and that now is the time to take the chance on Randy Arozarena. All right, Ryan McMahon went 0 for 4 on Sunday. He's now 7 for 57. And I have talked with all of you many times about McMahon. And we basically have settled on the, hey, you use him at Colorado and you don't use him when you're on the road advice. And I hate that because it's so generic. And interestingly enough, last time I checked, let's verify that it's still the case. Yeah, his OPS is 50 points higher on the road this year. He's actually been the opposite of that guy. A month ago, he was blazing and he was looking like he was a new guy. And here we are, and he's on pace now to hit his 23 home runs and drive into 75 runs and hit 260. He's the exact same guy he's always been. And there's still a hope because the Rockies have never quite as a team come together this season. There's no debating that. They just haven't come together. Maybe this is the year. I mean, this is the month it happens. Maybe it starts happening this month. The weather warms up. Maybe Amador, maybe they get back. Chris Bryant, and heaven help us, he actually hits. I don't know. But they haven't really hit. And McMahon has been solid. He's got the best walk rate of his career. The strikeout rate is down 4% from last year. Love seeing that. When you talk about his batted ball data, it's very impressive. I will give him credit there. Unlike the other guys that we've talked about, the things are kind of the same. In the case of Ryan McMahon, he has taken a jump in the Baseball Savant StatCast data. Now, if I could get the website to work, there we go. I get the website to work would help my show. I'd be able to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. If you look at his batted ball data, you see an average exit velocity that is top 2% in all of baseball and a hard hit rate that's top 3%. He's hitting the ball really hard. And when you transition, he's added over 2.5 miles an hour in exit velocity and about 10% to his hard hit rate for his career. Like, these are they're not just career best numbers, they're really, really good numbers. It is conceivable completely to suggest that his 263 batting average ends up at 275, which doesn't sound like much until you realize he's never hit 255. It's conceivable that his 433 slugging percentage, which looks exactly the same as the last 2 years, should be 475, which would be, his best mark ever. So I still think there's a chance for him to have the best season he's ever had. But there's a difference between having the best season you've ever had and going 30-100 and hitting 290, like I think some people were hoping was going to happen. I just don't see that. But it's gone too far in the other direction now with Ryan McMahon. 757 is ridiculous. Keibert Ruiz on the tip of a guy who was terrible, and then a guy who picked things up, and then a guy who's kind of just in that no man's land. The last month, he's hitting 253 with 2 home runs and 13 RBIs, as well as 12 runs scored. If he hits 250 all season long, and he's on a 150 game pace for 70 RBIs and 70 runs scored. We will take that at catcher. We all take that. You could say I wouldn't. You would. We'd all take that at catcher. Now, the problem is, just as it seemed like he really found a stroke, he had a blazing week. The last 2 weeks, he's back down to hitting 200 with the 550 OPS. And he's been very frustrating. He's talked about tearing his swing down. And, you can tell he's searching for it and he just can't lock in. And this happens. It's a long season. He could end up locking in the second half and hit 290 in the second half with 9 home runs, right? It could absolutely happen. Love this kid's talent. I think the bat is legit. We saw it last year where he hit 260 with 18 home runs. I think that's very representative of who he is, but he's just not in that zone right now. I think he's still a really strong catcher too. If you're in a catcher one scenario, this is the problem you run into. You didn't have him on your roster because he sucked. You added him, and since you added him, he's been just a guy, right? So now what do you do? Overall, the data is not impressive with him. So I can't tell you that if you're in a one-catcher league, if you have him right now and you're being patient, that it's the right thing to do. I think that you may be benefited by going in a different direction. If you're in a two-catcher league, I would try to hold on very, very hard, both hands. But right now, he is, again, struggling, and it looked like he'd figured it out, so it's a little bit disappointing. Wyatt Langford went 2 for 4 with a triple and a couple of RBIs. Since he's returned, he's gone 10 for 38. In his return to action for the Rangers. We talked so much about the Rangers' issues on the pitching side of things. Obviously, they're dealing with Carter being down. They dealt with Wyatt Langford being down. He's now back. We're a quarter of the season in, 41 games he's played. His seasonal pace would be 4 home runs, 8 steals, and 65 RBIs. Like, oof. Like, bad. He's hitting 234. His OPS is 610, like bad. Still an elite talent. Killed it in the minors last year. Killed it in spring training this year. And, hasn't really done much of anything with the big league team this year. Now, is he striking out a ton? No, he's at 22%. Has he lost control of the strike zone? Well, his 7% walk rate is lower than anticipated, but it's not a horrible number. So there's that. Now, the real issue he's had is that he's using the whole field, by the way, 40% pull rate, 36% up the middle, 25% opposite field. Like, that looks really good, too. The real issue is he's just not doing anything when he hits the ball. 6% barrel rate, 40% hard hit rate, 88 mile an hour exit velocity. For the most part, he's earned the numbers based upon the batted ball data. And that's disappointing because, again, his track record, the last year, the preseason this year, all of this says there's no problem, bro. Let's rock and roll. And he just hasn't. He's got a 590 OPS against right-handed pitching. He's got a 32% strikeout rate against lefties. So he's just been all over the place. There's no obvious signs of it's going to happen this week kind of thing. But he is still a dynamic talent. And he's the kind of guy I would take a shot on. I think it's fair at this point, right? Like, if he's on the waiver wire, and he very well could be, he's a guy I'm taking a shot on. A lot of times we just gravitate to whoever's hitting hot the last week, right? Let's go grab the guy who's got the best batting average the last 2 weeks when we're searching FAAB, okay? If Langford's there, I'm taking a shot. I think I said this all preseason, wildly overdrafted, crazy banana pants overdrafted. I said that all preseason, but we're not there anymore. We got to deal with what we got. Justin Verlander gave up 4 runs, 7 hits over 5 innings of work here over the weekend against the Angels. The Angels are a beatable team. Verlander didn't pitch great against them. He only got 3 swings and misses. He threw 100 pitches. He's not been bad. His ERA is 3.9. His WHIP is 1.2. He's got around a strikeout an inning. He's around a 3.5 strikeout to walk ratio. Like, nothing is wrong here. But at the same time, this is just not Justin Verlander. And I think everyone's hopefully made that determination in their mind, or they've made that flip in their mind that this is no longer Justin Verlander on his jersey. This is just a solid pitcher. Disappointing because he's not being effective enough. And the real issue with him is the home runs. And, this is something that we talk about in the grander scheme. When you're a fly ball pitcher, and Verlander is, when you're a guy that works up in the zone with your fastball, and Verlander always has, you lose a little bit of velocity, you lose a little bit of movement, you lose a little bit of location. Maybe it's a little bit all three. And your home run per 9 rate explodes. It's 1.7 per 9, which is a massive number that I can't foresee that continuing. But at the same time, you then look over at his home run to fly ball ratio and it's 12%. It's basically league average. His fly ball rate's 57%. Everything is going up in the air. And that just doesn't work. 10 years ago it worked for him. Doesn't work at this point. Just doesn't. So he's got to figure something out. I don't know. I don't know what he can figure out. I think this is just who he is. Is he better than Miles Mikolas? Yeah. Is he going to be someone that you're going to be excited to own? Probably not. And that, again, that's okay. He's 40 years old, right? He's going to the Hall of Fame, but that's just kind of where we're at with him. Final pitcher to talk about before we get to some of the health injuries, health issues, I guess, or health news. Bailey Ober allowed 4 runs on 7 hits and 4 2/3 innings to the Pirates on Sunday. 5 starts in a row where it's just been bleh. Now he faces the Athletics in his next start. If you have Bailey Ober, it's hard not to pitch him. Now I know a couple of people have asked that. If it's, and I know some of you are in shallow leagues, some of you are in leagues where you only start 5 or 6 pitchers each week. Like, it's different. In a league where you're starting 9 pitchers, I have a hard time sitting him. If you're starting 5 or 6 guys, I could understand sitting him. He's been mediocre at best. Now, yesterday, the velocity looked good. In fact, the velocity was up a little bit yesterday, so it doesn't feel like there's anything wrong here in terms of his health. As we talk about a lot, the results sometimes don't match what you see. The Pirates didn't exactly blast the ball over the field against him yesterday. That wasn't what happened. So I think that he's a tweak or 2 away from getting back to being a very effective pitcher. But right now, the results are kind of mixed. So, we're holding Bailey Ober. Don't drop Bailey Ober. There's too much uncertainty at pitching. People are starting to, I'm going to gain 6 spots. And I had a question with Morton and Hunter Brown this morning. It's a good question. And I said in response, look, who do you want, Morton or Hunter Brown? You want both. We're not giving up starting pitching. We're giving up, third shortstops. We're giving up 4th relievers. We're not giving up healthy starting pitching right now. That's not a winning move. Guys get hurt every flipping day. Don't give up healthy starting pitching, even in a head-to-head setup. And I know it's different because you're running through pitchers and maybe you're of open waivers and maybe there's no limit to how many guys and moves you can make each week. Okay. But for the majority of people, you just don't let go of a guy like Bailey Ober because what are you going to get? You're going to go grab Drew Thorpe, who makes 2 starts and they send him back down to the minors? And that's in play here. We don't know. So be cautious with making moves. Sometimes the best moves you make are the ones you don't make. It's the truth. All right, some health issues before we talk FAAB. Max Scherzer threw 4 shutout innings in his attempt to return from the thumb issue. This looks good. I think I saw a stat that of all the injuries he's ever had, I don't think he's ever made more than 2 starts on a rehab assignment without being activated ever, which is obviously very good news. If maybe the next time out he's in the minors again and he looks good and the thumb feels great and they activate him. So we're within 2 weeks of seeing him back on the big league roster, I think, if there's no setbacks. Now, again, we've had setbacks. We were saying this literally a month ago, we thought we were a week away, right? So, but it does seem like we're finally at the end of the old rainbow, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So it looks like Max Scherzer is right on the cusp of making one more start and potentially being back, and we could all use that, right? Of course. Gerritt Cole threw 4 1/3 innings, allowing 1 run in his rehab assignment on Sunday. He threw 57 pitches, so good there. 53, by the way, for Max Scherzer. Cole was at 94 to 96 with the fastball, so not 100%, but right there, which is I'm fine seeing that number and level with him. Cole threw 4 1/3, allowed the 1 run, got the 57 pitches. The expectation right now is 1 more minor league start, and then we'll see. So just like Max Scherzer, it could be we're in the 2-week zone with Cole. It could end up being multiple starts for Cole. Could end up being multiple starts for Scherzer. It depends how they feel, I think, as much as the results, because teams will trust these guys that if they say they're okay, if the velocity's there, the movement's there, they say they're okay, it's Scherzer and Cole, for goodness sakes, right? They'll err on the side of, we're trusting you versus, hey, kid, we need you to make another start in the minors. So both guys might make 1 more start and then we see them. Might be 2, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be more than 2 for either one. So we're right there. And then we'll, of course, hope that these guys can make 18 starts the rest of the way and be healthy. Okay, let's look right now. 15 starts the rest of the way and be healthy. Because you have to also think that even when they come back, despite who they are, they're not pushing them to 95 pitches the first time out. They're going to probably try to find a time or 2 to give them an extra day of rest, something like that. But let's say 15 starts the rest of the way. And if they're effective that, it's not going to erase, especially in the case of Cole, who was drafted, 2nd round most places. It's not going to erase the stain of losing him all season, but it would be a massive boost to get Gerritt Cole back for 15 starts, right? I mean, Mitchell Parker's done a great job, but that's Gerritt Cole. So we'll hope that that's the case here soon. Finally, Juan Soto, and I talked about this earlier. I have Juan Soto just in 1 league. I don't know if I'm playing him this week. As of right now, and the games don't start for hours today, so we have time to figure this out on a Monday for once. We don't have an early game on the East Coast. He's not been in the starting lineup for a couple of days now because of the forearm issue. There was a lot of, there was almost panic, Chicken Little kind of stuff, that his season was in danger, surgery and all this kind of stuff. We've moved beyond that. No one is saying that he needs surgery. The tests they have run have all been positive. Okay, there's nothing structurally wrong with his arm at this point. At least it would preclude him from continuing to play this season. I guess I should say that. There is still the possibility they're going to put him on the injured list. That has not been determined yet. And, Trent Grisham is playing. He hit a home run yesterday. Okay, Trent Grisham is a very solid major league player. He plays strong defense. Offense is nowhere in the same vicinity of Juan Soto, but, he's passable offensively. Really good defensive player. So they have that. They've got Jason Dominguez, who's coming back soon if they need him. So they could piece this together if Juan Soto's indeed going to miss some time. We don't know, A, if Soto's going to the injured list, and B, we don't know even if he's returning this week. What does that mean? Because we've seen teams do this. And remember the case of Austin Riley, famously, right? Austin Riley missed 13 days. They never put him on the injured list. So Juan Soto maybe doesn't go on the injured list, and he just sits there, right? And then it kills you. So if you have a one-and-done set your lineup league like me, again, he's out of my lineup. I hate it, but I think it's a smart way to play it right now. And we'll just hope that he doesn't end up on the injured list. That's the best we can do right now. All right, let's talk a little FAAB. Boom, there it is. This is Tout Wars, 12-team, $1,000 to spend. On-base percentage replaces at batting average. Innings pitched replaces wins. Solds replace saves. This is the experimental league that I love. Been into multiple years now. The Siege, you remember the Siege. The Siege picked up Mr. Wynn of the Giants, who got obliterated this last start. That's like 4 in a row where he's gotten obliterated. I don't really understand that addition. Blake Treinen for $7. Again, it's a Solds league. That's a fine addition. Horowitz of Toronto. We'll see. We're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. And again, this is a 12-team league. This is what I'm talking about. This is a 12-team league where guys like Horowitz, Treinen, and Wynn are being added. Like, don't drop Bailey Ober. Don't drop Charlie Morton. Like, my gosh. Like, I don't know what kind of leagues you all are in where you're dropping these kind of guys. The Siege also added Toglia. Look, we're taking a shot on Toglia. There's an opportunity. There's been an opportunity. Hasn't happened. I had Toglia on my dynasty team for 3 years. I eventually let him go this spring. It's like, and that league, we have 45 roster spots. I eventually let Toglia go. It just hasn't. So, hey, maybe we'll catch lightning in a bottle here, but I'm not a fan of that addition. We'll see. Holderman was added. Again, Solds league. Good addition there. Locklear for 54. Interesting, right? The Locklear was added for 54. It's a highish price, but there we go. Keibert Ruiz, who we were just talking about, was added for $25. I think that's a very good addition at that price point. And there's a chance, right? Then there's a chance. Ray, why didn't you do it, Ray? I've got Salvador Perez and Elias Diaz. That's of all my leagues, those are my best catching duo, right? Perez has been an MVP level performer, and Diaz is sitting 300 still. Let's pull him up. Yeah, he's sitting 305 right now. Now this is an on-base percentage league, but 350 on-base percentage. So that's why I didn't make the move on him. I added Miles Mikolas. He's a 2-start pitcher this week. Let me verify before I spout out who he's facing this week and being wrong. Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then the Cubs later in the week. And Ray, you wasted your money on Miles Mikolas. I might have. But I also do know that his last 3 starts, he's thrown 18 innings. And remember, this is an inning pitch league. So last 3 starts, he's gone 6 innings. 4 of his last 5 starts, excuse me. He's gone 6 innings. The other one, he went 5. All of those outings, 3 or fewer earned runs. He's basically been a quality start guy for almost a month now. And in this league, that's valuable. So I added him. I also have to, who else is on my team that's injured? Let me pull this up. I should probably know. I stopped waiting on Max Scherzer. He hasn't come back from injury. I lost Joe Ross, who was a replacement for Paul Blackburn. I lost him. My team is doing excellent because it's a Solds league, right? I picked up Jojo Romero right at the start of the season. He's been balls great. So I'm doing really well in ratios in the Solds category. I needed innings pitched. Went with Miles Mikolas. We'll see. Again, I'm not nuts here, but I do like the 2 matchups this week with Miles Mikolas. I also added Gavin Sheets. He qualifies at multiple positions. Before you say, Ray, you've lost your mind, understand that I haven't. Understand this is an on-base percentage league. His on-base percentage is 349 for the season. He's coming off a great week where he drove in a run a game, had a 400 on-base percentage. He qualifies at corner infield and outfield, which helps me out. In the infield, I've lost Trey Turner to the injured list. I've lost Chris Bryant to the injured list. I lost Jordan Beck in the outfield. I lost Brandon Rogers in the infield. I got 4 offensive players on the injured list. And instead of turning into Mauricio Dobon this week, I went out and added Gavin Sheets. Again, 3% of my budget. I'm not sweating that at all. Amador, there we go. $36. I got Amador. Very, very, and again, this I think shows you 36 of $1,000. I don't think everyone in this league was asleep. As you can see here, there was a bunch of moves. We just don't know about the playing time. Amador could be up for a week and he could be gone, or 10 days, and then it could be gone. I took a shot because, again, remember, I lost Brandon Rogers, so he doesn't play the same position because he's a shortstop, but I just took, who did I take? I took our guy, Luis Rengifo, and moved him because he qualifies everywhere. So I was able to move him when I added Amador. So, again, low price points. We broke them down earlier in the show. Let's see here. Finally, Waldrop was added for 110 to Ryan Boyer. He got annihilated in his first start. He pitched better than it looked, but the results were awful. Still unclear how the Braves are going to handle him. That's a pretty aggressive investment. Jack Zawinski for $3. Take a shot. It's $3. Don't have a problem with that one at all. Ryan Walker for $3. A good addition in the Solds League. He's been really good for the Giants. And then Mr. Rodriguez for $3 with the uncertainty with Gasser, who's still getting opinions. He's on to his third opinion right now. First one said, probably okay. Second one said surgery. Third one, we're waiting to see with Gasser. We don't know, have any idea what's going to look like with him. FAAB for LABR, 15 team, $100. So this one's different. This is the $100 league. The other two are $1,000. Waldrop went for 12 here, which is akin to 120, right? So in that same ballpark that was just spent. As you can see, there was a failed bid for 11. So that was a great, Butler made a great call there, getting his guy $1 more than the next level team. So that's what it took to get him. As you can see there were only one other bid for Waldrop for $2. So two teams were in. Talent is immense. Skill set is fantastic. Opportunity uncertain. And that first outing was pretty rough. Amador went to Ray. Again, I got him in all these leagues, and it's not, as I've described here, I'm not expecting the moon. I'm taking a shot. And I think it's different when you take a shot where you're spending 25, 30% of your budget versus I'm spending 3 to 6%. So that's the zone I was in. I got him here. The two failed bids were for $2, so I overspent a little bit, but I wanted to get my guy. Andrew Vaughn went for $3. There's failed bids there. I had a $2 bid on Andrew Vaughn, so I was runner-up. There was another $3 bid, so I guess I technically was in third, but I was right there. Andrew Vaughn has been terrible, but again, we're in a league with tons of guys hurt, and you need someone to fill your corner infield spot, and he's going to play every day. And it should be a little bit better than it is now, let's be honest. Cody Petit went for $2. I don't know how long he stays in the rotation for the Yankees with Cole on the precipice of coming back, but he's a fine addition right now. Patrick Sandoval for $2. A bunch of $1 bids failed there. I got Wilmer Flores for $2, and Flores is important because of his ability to play multiple positions. Let me pull up my team real quickly. They're all confusing to me, so I want to make sure I've got the right squad here. On this squad, I have Max Muncy on the injured list. He's obviously my corner infield guy. I've got Brandon Rogers on the injured list. He's my middle infield guy. I've got Mike Trout on the injured list. I've got Brandon Marsh on the injured list, and I've got Juan Soto hurt. Like, my team is a mash unit right now. So what I was able to do is I was able to add Amador, put him at the UT spot. I then was able to put Wilmer Flores at the corner infield spot because he actually qualifies at first and third in this setup. Is Flores a great addition? No. But, the last week he's hitting 316, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. He's got an 800 OPS the last 2 weeks. We have seen this a lot. He's going to play every day, or at least most days for the Giants, and he's an effective big league hitter. And when you're in a 14-team mixed league, a 275, 25 guy, which is, now last year he had 289 with 24 home runs. In the middle of the season when you need a pickup, it's not bad. And again, the price point here, totally valid to me, especially for that flexibility. Kate Povich went to Dr. Roto for $2. Dr. Roto likes spending $2. We've determined that here on the show, right? We'll see if Povich sticks in the rotation. His first turn through was not very good. Rudy Gamble took a chance on Taylor Walls in that power speed combination. Check out the article, the Rays Ramblings piece from Friday of last week for more information about my thoughts on Taylor Walls. Spencer Horwitz was added for $1. Ryan Stanek for $1. Tobias Myers for $1. Rob Refsnyder, who we talked about here on the show, playing every day, hitting over 300. With the Red Sox, David Peterson for $1, and Jake Rogers for $1. He's actually been hitting pretty well out of that second catcher spot. And again, 14-team mixed league. We're starting 28 catchers. Don't mind that addition at all. The final page here before we get to your comments and thoughts here at the show, Fantasy Sport Daily. Let's look at that last one. Heliot Ramos awarded for $250, and this is so. some of the leagues I'm in, you can't add a guy until they're on the big league roster. So like Drew Thorpe wasn't eligible to be added in that LABR league because he wasn't officially on the roster yet. Sometimes guys get dropped when they shouldn't because of just roster crunches. Sometimes guys get dropped because people aren't sold. And then sometimes guys force themselves to be spent on substantially because they have a great couple of weeks. You look here in the case of Heliot Ramos again. So FSGA is a 14-team that league, $1,000, 5x5. Went for $250 to the Sherpa squad. No one else bid over 86. So it was a wild expenditure based upon what other people thought. At the same time, Ramos has established himself as part of the Giants lineup. And he's been great. I've answered questions about him, and we've talked about him on the show. And I don't think what he's doing now is sustainable, but the Giants could use offense if he's in the lineup every day and he's hitting 255 with 20 home runs and 75 RBI. Okay. I know the problem is we spent so much money here that we need him to be a 290, 28 home run guy, right? Like we need him to be that type of hitter. And I don't know if that's fair at this point of his development, but he's been doing really well. And you get your guy. Amador went here for 97. So this was a lot more. This was like double the zone I was spending money in to get him. Failed bids here. No one went over 50. I was the $43 bid. There were other bids here. Because again, remember I was in that same zone, that 5% zone, basically. This is a 10% bid. If it hits, it hits. I mean, we'll see, right? Waldrop went for 87 here, a little bit less. No one else over 20. So this league was a little more reserved on Waldrop than some of the others that we've seen. In this league, you can add players. So Drew Thorpe was added here. 18, 18, 8, and 8. $64 was the cost of Thorpe. Again, it's not official, but the expectation is he'll be called up again on Tuesday to face the Mariners. Max Meyer, we're thinking forward-thinking. Sherpa's going ahead here and spending $50 on Max Meyer. I wrote about him on Friday in the Rays Rambling piece at fantasyguru.com, gave my full breakdown of what my expectations are with him, so check out that article. Tyler Kinley awarded to the Fantasy Alarm. I mean, this ninth inning is a disaster for the Rockies. I don't want to – I mean, I was looking at Kinley in this league too, to be honest. I was looking at him. I didn't even place a bid. It's like, eh. And as you can see here, no one else placed a bid. Oh, there was one other bid at 29. Do I need saves? Sure. Do I need a 6 ERA and a 1.5 whip? Nah, I don't think. I mean, Kinley appears to be surging in that. Like, it's not Justin Lawrence. It's not Beeks. It's a mess. Again, only if you're desperate. Charlie Blackmon was awarded to me for $23. Let's go. No, is this sexy or exciting? Hell no. But Charlie Blackmon, let's pull it up real quick just so I can. I mean, Charlie Blackmon, I think he's hitting like he's hitting 350 with a 950 OPS the last week. You know, and the good news is with Blackmon, of course, is that he plays every day. And, you know, when you play every day, we can do some things with you here, right? And you look at my team here, and, you know, my outfield is, I have Luis Rengifo in the outfield right now. Jorge Soler, who's hitting 200 the last 2 weeks. Riley Green, who I'm not taking out of the lineup, but he's, you know, hitting 230 the last month. Cody Bellinger's hitting 250 the last month. Like, it's not like, oh, right, you got to desperately make a move here. But I've got Mitch Haniger on the bench. I've got Tommy Pham on the injured list. I've got Chris Ryan on the injured list. I added Charlie Blackmon because he's in a nice groove. You know, let's faces 3 games at Minnesota and then 3 games at Coors. So we'll see. And again, the price point, it's $2 or 2% of your bid. Failed bids there for him were 7 and 7. David Peterson added for 18. Michael Tauchman for 14. Albert Suarez, who for now looks like he's staying in the Orioles rotation for 12. I looked at Suarez this week myself. That's a very good addition by Adam Ronis for that price point. Shane Baz, the USA Today team, getting really forward-thinking. Baz will be up in a month if he can stay healthy, and that could be a huge payoff for the $10. Ray, why didn't you do it? I have Junior Caminero on my bench, so that's my rookie stash. So I don't have space with all the injuries to add another youngster. Jose Siri's added for $10, power and speed, but yeah, you know, he's really lots of strikeouts there. Batting average is not very good. Spencer Horwitz for 7, Emmanuel Valdez for 7 to the Colton Stern and Wolfman team. Malloy, who we talked about on the show, I think last week, went for 7. MJ Melendez for 3. God, Melendez has been bad this year, hasn't he? And then Spencer Howard and Jonathan Cannon for $2 also to the Colton Stern and Wolfman team. That's 4 players added under $10. Interesting. So there you go. So that's a rundown. We'll do that every Monday here on the show as we kind of run through the players that you need to know about. I don't know what it is today. My camera is not focusing today. It's very weird, right? Like my hand looks very clear, but my face is kind of, sorry about that. Let's see the comments here. Angelo and Mario says, morning. John Godfrey, I've used you guys for baseball for years. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. But never football. There's some kind of combined deal for the two. I believe there used to be. And as we said earlier, for those of you that missed it, if you go to fantasyguru.com, you click on the subscribe tab in the top right corner, you get the Elite Seasonal Package, which is the full season football coverage at fantasyguru.com. In addition to that full season coverage, you also get the data package, which is all the fancy numbers that we have access to. You get the franchise mode, so that's all the youngster information, the offseason stuff. You get the CFL and UFL if you want to get involved there. We have a great product there. Mark Hogan does a great job. We've had him on the show, Elite Sports Game Time, multiple times. You can win a ton of money there. You also get the MLB seasonal content for free. So we're just tossing that in. So sign up for the Elite Seasonal Package for football. We have a different scenario here with John. You already have the baseball package. What I can tell you is there's no official package right now unless you get the all-in package. If you get the all-in package, you get everything we do. All the sports, everything. That's the best deal because as people ask all the time, like, what package do I get? You get everything if you get the all-in deal. Every sport, every article, every live stream, every Discord, you get everything on the all-in package. If you don't want to do that, what I would suggest to you is contacting customer support. You can talk. Usually it's Ted Schuster that gives the answer there in the customer service. You can say, hey, guys, I've had baseball for 5 years. I'm interested in getting in football. What do you think? Support@fantasyguru.com, John. Support@fantasyguru.com. Angelo says, crap. I just read that Flaherty lost a 2-start week, pushed back from Tuesday to Friday. Yeah, Flaherty's back. He swore he'd be healthy and make his next start with this back issue. Tiger said no. So let's just, I know you say crap, Angelo, and I get it, but let's just hope he's healthy because he's had a lot of injuries the last 4 or 5 years, right? So let's just hope the back is really not a big deal in the couple of days, keeps it going because he's had a tremendous start to the season. Doug says, morning. Mario says, where do you see Amador down the road like next year? Well, again, it depends. It depends what signings they make. My assumption is that they are not going to be making any signings. I don't think that the Rockies are going to be in the market for another Chris Bryant scenario signing. I think that's no. I think that, as I said earlier, Amador, you can make the argument that he's their best prospect in their organization right now, that he has a borderline elite, if not elite hit tool. Like, he's really good. I think that it's very likely, if not probable, that he's starting for them probably at second base next year. I mean, they've got Tovar there, and he's done a really good job. He's not a great. I don't think there's much more than what Tovar is doing now, but there's nothing wrong with what Tovar is doing. In the case of Rogers, let's look at his contract. He's arbitration eligible, I guess, one more time next year. Yeah, he's arbitration one more time. I mean, at this point, you've given Rogers 5 years, 6 years, and he just hasn't done it. Is he going to stop Amador from playing? I know he's 27. You spent a first-round pick on him. I get it, but it's just, injuries and poor performance. I think Rogers is playing himself into a super sub role. So I think it's very likely that, barring something unforeseen, Amador is playing every day for the Rockies next year. They'd love to have him play 150 games. That's kind of my expectation. Tony C says, good morning, Ray. Let's get the cash game today. Boo, boo. Yeah, we'll get back after it today. That's actually where I'm going right now as we're wrapping this show up. Thank you, everybody, for watching. For those people that don't know, yes, I do write the cash game breakdown Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday over at fantasyguru.com. That's the cash game breakdown for the DFS slate. So I did dive in there and help people set their lineups. Appreciate it, Tony. Thank you. And I'll have some bets out later tonight as well. We've got the Elite Sports Game Time show. That is Monday through Thursday, 8-10 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Jeff Mann's show is Elite Sports Show. That's from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. So 2 shows. 3 to 6 is Jeff's show. My show's from 8 to 10 on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'll obviously be with you every Monday through Friday on Fantasy Sports Daily. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Get that football package. Like I said, it's live right now. Discounts already included. You don't have to put any code in or anything like that. Everyone's got the discount right now. You get all of the coverage, all of the rankings, access to Discord. It's a great product. I really do. Again, as I said earlier, support it, not just because I work here, but honestly, I support it. If I was just one of you, I would be thrilled to be a subscriber. I think there's some unique things we offer. We have a great team. We have a different slant than a lot of people. As we say all the time, we say it with our chest. We're not afraid to be different. And I think a lot of times when we're different, we're right. So hopefully all of you that like what we're doing here will subscribe to the product for football over at fantasyguru.com. All right, got to get on that cash game breakdown. Thanks, everyone, for watching again today. Really appreciate it. You all have a good day. May the force be with you, Tony. Thank you, Mario. You got it. And no place you'd rather be. I love hearing that, Tony. Thank you much. Thank you to all of you. Thanks for tell a friend. Remember, show's free here. We're sharing information, having a good time. So let everyone know this is the place to be for some fun in the morning. I'm Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.